Hi Bowl Bakers, as the summer comes to an end, I'm going to squeeze the last bit out of it as I possibly can, and we are going to make an amazing summer fruit tart with crème patisserie. Crème patisserie, also known as pastry cream, is a classic French recipe for a thickened custard. It's really versatile and it's used in tarts, to fill eclairs, and even in Boston cream pie. It's really easy, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about pastry. Now you can use a store-bought puff pastry here, that is totally fine, or you can use my kind of cheat puff pastry recipe. It's really easy, and I'm going to show you how you can make it. In a nice big bowl, we are going to add in our flour and a little bit of salt. Always add in salt into pastry because it just needs that little bit of extra flavor. Then just give that a mix around. Now here is my secret ingredient for my cheats puff pastry. It is frozen butter. Pop it into the freezer, let it get nice and hard, and then I'm going to grab my box grater and we are going to grate the butter into the flour. This is a really fantastic technique, and what happens is it gives you tiny little pieces of butter, so you get lots of lovely layers in your pastry. With my cheats puff pastry, you don't have to laminate your dough, you don't have to do a lot of folds, it's really simple. So just grate it all in there, and that's it. And then look at all those lovely, beautiful curls of cold butter. And as you can see, I have some butter left over here. What I do is I weigh a little bit extra, more than I need. So I have a little butter to hold on to so I protect my fingers. So I'm gonna put that to the side and then just give this a stir. Lovely, coat all those little bits of butter in flour. Beautiful. Now here I have a little bit of cold water. Make sure your water is nice and cold when you're making pastry. It makes all the difference. And I'm going to add to this a little bit of fresh lemon juice. Now this is a very traditional thing to do, and I'll tell you why. You add in fresh lemon juice because it tenderizes the flour and gives you a lovely soft pastry. So often you will see lemon juice or even vinegar asked for in pastry making, and this is why. So make sure you add that little bit in there. And then simply add our wet into our dry ingredients. And use your spatula, or you can use your hand, and then just mix this in. I held back a little bit of my water because sometimes you don't need all your water, but this is still looking a little bit dry, so I will add the rest of it in. Okay, it's starting to come together. I'm gonna go in with my hands so you can really feel what's going on. Is your pastry too wet? Is it too dry? This is looking good. I'm going to turn it out and just bring it together to form a ball. If you're ever worried that your pastry is too dry, just note that when you put it into your fridge, when it relaxes, it actually expresses water and it gets a little bit damper. So if you think it's a little bit dry and you're worried, wait until it comes out of the fridge and it will actually be wetter. It is always better to have a dough on the drier side than it is on the wet side, because you can always add more water, but you can't take it out. So now we're going to wrap it and let it chill in the fridge for a minimum of 30 minutes. While our dough is chilling, we are going to make our pastry cream. So follow me over here to the stovetop. So in a medium heavy bottom saucepan, I'm going to pour in my milk. Now I like to use full fat milk here because more fat means more flavor. I'm going to add in a little bit of sugar, and then I am going to add in my vanilla pod. Now I cut this down the middle so all those lovely seeds come out. If you don't have vanilla pod, you can always use vanilla paste, or you can even just use vanilla extract, but I love to see all the little seeds in there. Okay, so turn this on to a medium-low heat, and what we're going to let this do is slowly come to a simmer and let the vanilla infuse in the milk. While it's doing that, let's go mix up our egg yolks. So here I have my egg yolks. Into this I'm going to add in a little bit more sugar, and then to thicken it, some cornstarch, also known as corn flour. Often when you see crème patisserie, sometimes it calls for all-purpose flour. That's totally fine too. I like to use cornstarch because it's gluten-free, which means everybody can enjoy it. And just give that a whisk up together. Okay, so our eggs are ready. Now I see over here my milk is almost simmering. It kind of has a little bit of a skin on top. That is perfect. I'm going to remove that from the heat, bring it over here, and add some of your hot milk into your eggs. You want to do this because you want to get the eggs the same temperature as the milk. Use a whisk to bring it together. So this is called tempering, and it's really important, especially when using eggs, because if you were to add the cold eggs into that hot milk, they'll cook on the surface. So you want to add a little bit of the hot into the egg yolks, mix it, and then add in the rest. Okay, lovely. We're back in our original pot. Now back over here to the stovetop. And we're going to turn this heat to a medium low. And with our whisk, we're going to stand here and whisk it until it starts to thicken. It'll happen pretty fast. It'll thicken because of all that lovely cornstarch in there. And we whisk as we go, so our custard stays really nice and smooth and has no lumps. So as you can see, it is starting to thicken. You're getting all these lovely ripples. So this is looking really good. You just cook it now, just for a minute or two, let it thicken even more. And then I'm going to turn off the heat and we are going to whisk in some butter. You always add in butter at the end of creme patisserie. It just makes it kind of like silky smooth and like velvety almost, like really delicious. Look at all those vanilla seeds, aren't they gorgeous? Okay, now here's what we're going to do. We're going to move back over here. So I have a sieve over a bowl and I'm going to pour my creme patisserie into the sieve. With a spatula, just pass it through the sieve. And what we're doing here is making sure that our creme patisserie is lovely and silky smooth, that there's no little bits in it. Sometimes what can happen is little bit of egg can get cooked and you want to remove it. Also, little bits of the vanilla pod can get in there. So you just want to get out all of those bits. Make sure you get it off the bottom of the sieve. There's lots left there. Now, here's what we do. With creme patisserie, because it can form a skin when it cools down, what you want to do is take a piece of cling wrap and place it directly on the creme patisserie. Just pushing out all the air and having that lay directly on top. So what this does, it prevents from forming a skin. Now what we're going to do is just set it over to the side and let it cool down at room temperature. Then we're going to pop it into the fridge, and while it's chilling and firming up and getting nice and thick, we're going to roll out our pastry. So my pastry is nice and chilled. I'm going to unwrap it, flour my surface, and then I'm going to roll it out by hand to around a quarter of an inch thick, maybe a little bit less. I do like to have my pastry nice and thick because you've got a lot of filling. We're going to put fruit on top. So you want a nice bit of fatty pastry underneath there. Lovely. This dough is really lovely to work with and it just rolls out so easily. Okie dokie. That looks good. So here I have a cake pan, around a 9-10 inch cake pan, and just cut around it to get a lovely round circle. I'm doing a circle, you can do a rectangle, you can do any shape you want. So place your pastry on your tray lined with parchment paper, and then we're going to dock it. And docking it just means letting out the steam as it bakes. You can do this with a fork. Just go all over the top and create holes. I usually leave a little border without holes. Lovely. So now while our pastry is cold and the oven is hot, let's get it in there. Bake your pastry off at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 degrees Celsius for roughly 20, maybe 22 minutes. Let it get nice and brown and puff up. So when your pastry comes out of the oven, as you can see, it's lovely and golden brown and puffed up. This is going to give us a lovely, very flaky, delicate layer to our tart. So I'm just going to set this over to the side, let it cool down, and we're going to get our fruit ready. Now, I suggest you use any fruit you have to hand. Use what's seasonal because it'll taste the best and it will look the best. Here I have some plums. I'm going to slice those up nice and thinly. I have a peach and I have some blueberries. These are all summer fruit, best eaten this time of year, and they're going to make for a gorgeous tart. Okay, so we have everything we need to make this lovely dessert. We've got our pastry, we've got our creme patisserie, and we have our fruit ready to go. So now let's just bring it all together. So on top of our pastry, we're going to add a generous amount of our creme patisserie. And then on top, I'm just going to fan out the fruit that I sliced. You can decorate yours any way you like. I'm going to gently lay them all around. And then I'm going to add a lovely pop of blueberries just right in the middle. I think this looks gorgeous. That's the beauty of these tarts. No matter what lovely fruit you put on top of it, it's going to have beautiful color, design, very simple yet elegant. I'm going to cut myself a nice big slice. Carefully cut through that pastry. Now it's time for me to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Oh my gosh. What I love about this dessert is that it has so much going on. There's a balance of flavor between the creme patisserie, the creaminess, the sweetness of the sugar, and then the different textures, the soft pastry cream, the crispy but flaky pastry. It all just works together so well. It's simple yet elegant. Absolute perfection. Keep on watching for lots more baking videos just like this one, and don't forget to follow me on social media.